Good evening and welcome to Good News and Entertainment. I'm Carley Boyette. We have a busy show for you tonight. A little later, you're going to hear about an amazing lineup of Christian music artists that are coming together to offer help to those affected by Hurricane Helene in the mountains. The benefit concert is called Mountain Aid, and 100% of the proceeds will be going to Samaritan's Purse. Much more on their organization as well. But first tonight, I want to take you out to Hollywood, California, where I had the exciting opportunity to be at the red carpet premiere of the best Christmas pageant ever. The movie is now in theaters, and the reviews have been amazing. Let's hear more from the cast and crew walking the carpet. And as you'll see, it had a much different vibe than most premieres, as it was extremely family-friendly, relaxing, and fun.
One of the main things that made me want to tell this story was when I finished the book, I thought, I don't know that I can think of a story that is so explicitly Jesus-focused and yet is so universally acceptable. It doesn't feel like homework, it doesn't feel like it's exclusive, because I think everyone from every stripe can see someone in the story that's themselves. And so I think there's something about Christmas that's uniquely unifying. And so around Christmas time, you can turn on the radio and hear Frank Sinatra singing about Jesus. There's no other time of year where you can get away with that. So my hope is that this movie can draw people in, they can experience this story, and then maybe see it in a different way and maybe give it more of a chance the rest of the year. Maybe it's not just a Christmas story.
Question, brag on these kiddos for a minute, because really, if they couldn't sell it and do their job, you wouldn't have your film. And that's a lot of pressure to put on these kids, and they did it.
Yeah, I don't tell the kids how much pressure is on them because I don't want them to lose focus. But by the time we were done filming, I'm like, you made our movie. To find kids who have the humor and the heart, who can focus for that long. Now, they didn't always succeed, but neither did Pete Holmes and Judy Greer. So, I was a parent to everybody, including our adults. But as we were gathering all the auditions, the hours and hours and hours, my wife is my co-casting director along with the official casting director. She watches all those tapes. By the time it got narrowed down, it was almost as though God was like, I'm going to make this decision easy for you. There's one person for this role. There's one person for this role. It was similar to The Chosen. It was clear God wasn't going to let me screw it up. And they are amazing.
Enjoy the night. Job well done.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Tell me about how much fun this movie was. You can't tell me it wasn't fun. It's going to break my heart if it wasn't.
No, I don't know how anyone could say it wasn't fun. This was probably one of my best experiences in my entire life. Oh, it was so fun.
Tell me about one of your favorite memories working on this film.
One of my favorite memories is when all the Herdmans went to stunt training and we got to hit each other with foam sticks. It was really fun.
Talk about the message of this movie, and did you learn anything just being a kid and being a part of it? I mean, it's a big message for both kids and adults that I think we can all learn from.
Yeah. So I find the message of the movie is what kindness can do to a person, the true story of Christmas and family. And what I learned from it was just how much you have to appreciate the ones you love.
Job well done. You did amazing.
Thank you so much.
Talk about making this film and what this meant to you and being a part of this. You had a big role out of all those kiddos.
Yeah.
Yours is the big one.
It meant so much to me to be able to act with these amazing, talented kids, and I love them so much, and I've just found real family in them.
What will you remember most, kind of this experience of working with Dallas and all the cast members and stuff? What are you going to take with you, you think, for the rest of your life, really?
Yeah, really, just a group of amazing, supportive people, directors and crew and cast, and amazing friends and new family.
So tell me about this movie and making this movie. What are going to be some things that you remember that are going to stick with you from here on out?
Oh my God. The connection to the cast and my crew around me was truly special. I mean, everyone had great camaraderie on set, and we all got to know each other so well. We're practically family at this point. And there were just so many scenes where we all really connected, truly, and we got to understand the meaning of what this movie really is about.
What is that lesson for you?
Don't judge a book by its cover. And I say this because the Herdmans are like the scrap of the town, apparently. And then when they actually treat them right and give them a chance, they prove that they can be good too.
You look fantastic. I'm loving this suit.
Yeah, thanks. It's mainly from my mother. I got to give her credit for that, but I think I like it. I think I look snazzy.
You do. Mom knows best. I love it. Good job, Mama. Yeah. Talk about this film and how much fun this was.
This film was so much fun to make. The movie's comedic, behind the scenes was comedic, the people are comedic. It's like a combo of comedians, I guess.
What was the hardest part of working on this film, do you think? Was there anything challenging about it?
One thing was challenging was I had to not smile in certain scenes because I was supposed to be like some serious kid. I rarely smiled unless I'm being devious. So when I accidentally smile, I feel so guilty. I'm like, I'm not supposed to smile.
That would be hard for me too, so I totally know. Do you have any big bucket list items or dreams that you want to go on and do from here?
My biggest bucket list, number one, is to get into a Star Wars movie.
Ooh.
Number one. I am a Star Wars nerd. That's my number one priority.
All right, well, maybe we'll see you on a Star Wars red carpet one day.
Lucasfilm, hire me, please. I'll do anything. I'll die in the prologue, just please.
You're awesome, buddy. Enjoy the night. Job well done on this film.
Thank you. I am so excited and happy to be here. It's going to be the best movie ever.
You have the big famous scene where you yell real loud. How many takes did that take?
About like 4, 2.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me what else that you love about that you think people are going to enjoy when they watch this movie. What do you hope they enjoy about it?
I hope they enjoy like that the true meaning of Christmas, and at the beginning, like that we were super mean, and at the end, we learned about Jesus and we started going to church, and everything was just great.
It's going to be the best Christmas pageant ever. Today we're going to ignore everything except blood.
Oh, what? Come on!
Now that's a pageant I'd actually like to see.
Now, for movie times in your area, just go to bestchristmaspageantever.movie. Okay, now to that benefit concert I was telling you about called Mountain Aid. It's coming up November 14th in Johnson City, Tennessee. Several artists like Stephen Curtis Chapman, Brandon Heath, Point of Grace, Jason Crabb, and so many others are all coming together to help raise money for those still suffering in the Appalachian Mountains. 100% of the funds raised are going to Samaritan's Purse, who have been on the front line since the storm went through. One of those groups performing, and the ones that are actually had the idea to host this benefit concert, is a bluegrass band called Chosen Road. They have had 2 albums that landed Billboard's #1 spot for bluegrass albums and several radio singles. I had a chance to talk to Jonathan Buckner, one of the founding members, about why they decided to do this benefit concert. But first, here's a little bit of their song, The Storm Still Knows His Voice.
The storm still knows his voice. The storm still knows his voice. When faith turns into doubt and fear says there's no way out, the storm still knows his voice.
15 years y'all have been together?
Yeah, it's hard to believe that it's been that long. We started in 2009, and when we started 15 years ago, we never had any idea that we would still find ourselves doing this 15 years later, but we're here.
Yes, you are. And that song that we just heard, I think, is a perfect kind of start if maybe people are just starting to hear about you guys now, certainly with this huge concert, this benefit concert that you're helping to host. Let's talk about this and kind of the music and the area, the communities that your team, that your band has really started from, has
Yeah.
been hit hard over the last couple of weeks. And I know this has just must weighed so heavy on you guys.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that it's been over a month now since going on a month and a half since the storms hit. The day I live in southern West Virginia, and we got some damage. We didn't have power for a little over a week. In my neighborhood, we had hundreds of trees down, and there was some structural damage to some homes and some families that were displaced. But we didn't have anything like our neighbors. Literally, over the mountain from where I'm sitting right now, I'm looking at the mountain. I can be to Western North Carolina in about 2 hours. Um, and so the storms hit on Friday. On Saturday, I had to leave town because we actually had a show in Nashville. While I was on our bus, we were heading towards Nashville. I started getting text messages and seeing pictures from Western North Carolina, East Tennessee, from friends that we're very close with, and I knew that it was bad and it was unprecedented. Everybody did at that time. And so I remember we were going down the road, and as a band, we all felt really guilty because so many of our friends and neighbors, they were trying to figure out literally how they were going to survive. And we were going to play music. And so we just thought to ourselves, we were running down the road and we thought, what can we do to help? And we thought, well, we've got a tour bus and we're going to Nashville. They weren't affected. We thought, let's just stop and buy supplies and literally drop it off on our way back home. And so then we thought, well, let's put it out on social media and let's see if anybody wants to donate and help us. And so we did that. And in less than 24 hours, we had well over $15,000 in. And so we went to Sam's Club and we ended up running out of room on our bus to take supplies back. So we borrowed a trailer, and we were able to stop on our way back. And we pulled up to Happy Valley High School in Carter County, Tennessee. And there were about 50 high school students and teachers at this high school that they had set up already to be a distribution hub and as a shelter. And they've been waiting. We got there about 6:00 that morning. They've been waiting for us to get there since 2:30 because they were out of supplies. And so that just snowballed in. And so we've just been doing everything that we can for the past, over a month now to help our friends.
Yeah. Talk about the artists that have jumped on board. And it really sounds like it's a God thing because to put on something, you guys haven't had a whole lot of time to put this together. You got big names that have jumped on board. You said everyone is just so eager to help.
Yeah, it's been amazing. So the show that we were playing in Nashville right after the storm, we were doing it with Stephen Curtis Chapman. And so I had in my mind, I thought, we're going to do a benefit concert. I didn't know where we were going to do it. I didn't know how we were going to do it, but I knew that we were playing with Stephen, and he is also from Appalachia and from Kentucky. He's a Kentucky boy. And so we asked that night, like, hey man, you want to do this? And he was like, yeah, give me the details. Only we didn't have any details. And so Stephen said yes. And so then my first call was to another fellow West Virginian who his name is Jason Lovins, the Jason Lovins Band, and great guys. And I called Jason. I said, man, Stephen said he would do it. We want to do it. Jason and his band jumped on board, and they were able to pull in a ton of help. And so he was able to help us secure the venue, Freedom Hall in Johnson City, Tennessee. He brought to the table Food City is our presenting sponsor. And so they have just been, in Food City, their home base is East Tennessee. And so that's their people. So they were like, yeah, we're here for our community. And so then, Brandon Heath has jumped on board. Darren and Brooke Aldridge, they're on the Grand Ole Opry all the time, but they're Western North Carolina natives. They're from right there in the area that's been hurt so badly. And let's see, who else? Point of Grace. They're dear friends and some of my favorite Christian music artists of all time. A guy that I'm really excited about by the name of Sean Dietrich. A lot of folks know him as Sean of the South. He's an author and he's a humorist, but an incredible musician, and really excited about him being there. It's going to be an amazing night.
And only $20 for those that are in the area and can go. And let's talk about where 100% of the proceeds, right? Like it's not even, it's everything is going to what? Samaritan first?
Yeah, it's amazing how everyone has jumped in. 100% of every dime that comes in will go to Samaritan's Purse. the city of Johnson City owns Freedom Hall. They donated the venue. Even e-tickets, the ticketing platform, they waived all their ticketing. Their production company, which a production for an event like this is a big cost. The production company said, "Hey, we've got it all covered." And so, yeah, literally everything has been donated. It's been one of the most amazing God things to be a part of this.
And Samaritan's Purse, to see what they've been able to do in that area. And I think a lot of people, they want to help and they don't know if they can't bring supplies or if they can't do this. Samaritan's Purse, I mean, this is their backyard. If you talk about knowing somebody that knows how to get the job done, they're right there. They're in the heart of it anyways.
They've been there. Yeah. I mean, literally, like you said, their backyard. They've done disaster relief for so long and never dreamed that they would be responding to a hurricane in their home, the mountains of Western North Carolina. But yeah, they've been there from day one. Anytime that I've been in and out of that area taking supplies in, I've seen Samaritan's Purse. And everyone that you talk, the amazing thing about this, it's tragic. There are people whose their dreams have been turned to tears, but to watch how God has shown himself through all this has been amazing. Every person that you talk to down there, regardless of if they're a believer, if they're a churchgoer, they will tell you that the people who have ran to the fire, it's Samaritan's Purse and the local church. That is who have been driving all of the relief efforts has been the local church. And that's exactly what the church should do.
What has God kind of shown you and the guys in the band, I think, over the last couple of weeks in this season of, really kind of heartache? What have you kind of seen God done, and what do you think he's teaching you in this moment?
Really, I think that what I would have to say is how big and how great and how awesome he is. To be able to talk to someone, and I've talked to people who literally have lost everything. They've lost everything and they don't know how they're going to rebuild yet. Insurance companies aren't handing them a check to rebuild. But to talk to people who have lost everything, but through it all have a peace and hope and be able to stand. The only source that kind of strength can come through is Almighty God. And so it's in that moment. I mean, you stop and you think, I mean, like I said, in my yard just around our house here, there were probably 20 trees laying on the ground, and only by the grace of God, one of those didn't take our house out. And I've told everyone, only by the grace of God, that storm didn't cross the mountain here where I am and do to us what it did to our neighbors there. And so I stop and think to myself, man, I don't know if I could do what they're doing. I don't know if I could stand there and be hopeful. I don't know if I could stand there and have the peace that they have. But I think it's one of those things you never know until you're in that moment. And I believe that the only source that strength like that can come from is God.
Again, the concert is November 14th and tickets are only $20. For more info, just go to thechosenroadmusic.com. Now, as I mentioned, Samaritan's Purse is the organization receiving the funds from this benefit concert. They have been doing remarkable work in getting help to those who need it most. The stories you hear from both the people who have received help and the volunteers themselves have been so powerful. In fact, that in part is why there is a podcast called On the Ground with Samaritan's Purse, so you can hear these amazing stories. Take a look.
On the Ground with Samaritan's Purse is a podcast that takes you to the front lines and behind the scenes of our work around the world. I'm your host, Christy Graham, and every episode is different, but the goal is always the same, giving you a front row seat to how God is using Samaritan's Purse to help people in Jesus' name.
The way we express the love of Jesus Christ and the passion that he had is that we go out there and we serve others.
In this ministry, the vehicle in which we share God's love is ever changing. From providing critical medical supplies, a warm meal to a hurting family, or shelter after a storm. But the message is steadfast, sharing the good news of Jesus Christ with a broken world.
Yes, sir. We love you.
In this podcast, we'll take you to war-torn countries, the epicenter of outbreaks, and the places hardest hit after earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, and other disasters. Our podcast gives real and raw testimonies from our teams on the ground. It shows you the heart of our staff and our volunteers, and most importantly, the people that we help.
God says, love your neighbor as yourself. We are to love them and bring them hope.
It's another way in which you can be part of our ministry, and you never know where we'll be headed next. Listen to On the Ground with Samaritan's Purse wherever you get your podcasts. You won't want to miss hearing about how God is changing hearts and transforming lives through the work of Samaritan's Purse.
Man, you guys have been doing so much really around the world for years now. So I know the name Samaritan's Purse is not going to be new to anybody. But I'm so thankful there's a podcast that I just found out about as well, because the stories that we hear online, that we hear, I mean, that have really gone viral, I think, over the last couple of weeks, just specifically in North Carolina, have been so powerful. Man, I just thank you. Let's start there with all the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you, Carly, and thank you for spotlighting our work. And yeah, the podcast, we love telling stories of what God is doing around the world. And so we take you to the front lines and behind the scenes to hear and see what God is doing, because he is working.
How is God showing up? How are you seeing that?
Well, it's been interesting, Carly, because I mean, this storm, as you know, it hit all Georgia, the Southeast was rocked. And so the footprint is big, but it did hit near our international headquarters in Boone, North Carolina, which typically we go away to respond to disasters. It doesn't come to our backyard. And same with Asheville, the Cove, the Billy Graham Evangelistic Training Center is there. So it's home and it's personal to a lot of our staff. And so it's been really hard, but it's been really beautiful to show our community what we do, because they know of us, but they don't actually get to see and know what we do. So to be able to serve in some of our teachers' homes and, people in our community has been both hard and humbling, but beautiful. And I think, and even for my kids, that send their dad around the world, they get to see what really happens in a disaster, how he processes, how he responds. And so it's been personal. And I think it makes it a little harder for people to get objective. They're a little more intertwined with the pain and the suffering. But again, Jesus models that really well on how he wept when his friend died. And, tragedy strikes us personally sometimes, and sometimes it's a distance. So we've modeled and watched what he did and how he responded here on earth, in how to respond, which is what we always do. We respond in Jesus' name, and it's to serve people spiritually through physical need.
So we hear of benefit concerts like this where you guys are getting the proceeds from this. What does that money do? What is the need right now? And again, if for some reason someone can't go to this concert or can't, contribute in that way, there's other ways to do that. But what is the need? Where is that money going to most right now, do you think, on the ground?
Yeah, and we're so thankful for these benefit concerts. We've had NASCAR put, our logo on their cars, and it's just bringing awareness. And I think, one, we need prayer, but the money, we have water systems set up in Swannanoa. We have medical, we're sending, and initially we did with helicopters to people that were locked and we couldn't access. We were sending them generators and fuel and even medication and things. And now we can get to them by road, but that they are going to need that for for a while. We're working in homes. So there's lots of different ways. We say there's lots of vehicles and ways that we physically help people. But we also need volunteers. So you said if people can't make it to the concert, go onto our website, SamaritansPurse.org. We have 7 locations, 6 for Helene and 1 for Milton. Actually, there's 3 in Florida. So people that are local for you, we need volunteers. So we have, the resources, and we have trucks and equipment, but the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. We say it all the time. We need more and more volunteers and people to help serve, because we have work orders coming in, thousands, and we will stay until those are finished. But in order to get them done quickly, especially the ones with water damage that need that taken out for mold prevention, we got to get to it soon. So I would say, the money's going to those types of jobs but the people are what's making it possible.
Yeah. As we wrap up here, invite people to listen to the podcast. And, there's just something that makes it so personal, and you can really understand it when you hear people's stories, right? Like that's why I love storytelling and why I love movies and podcasts and shit, when you can really hear individual things that are happening.
I think so too. And that's why I love the Bible. It has so many stories. In fact, I was just sharing Joseph with my kids this morning. The Old Testament has so many stories of human, people, that ups and downs and highs and lows, and the way the Lord met them. And I agree, like you, I love hearing people's stories. And so the podcast, I think, my husband Edward and my father-in-law Franklin, they are on TV telling what we're doing a lot, but I like to get to the heart, and tell the stories of, like, introduce you to the people that maybe they don't have time to when they're on Fox, or, something with a shorter, smaller segment. And we also have videos that are beautiful. And as you mentioned, they've been going viral, and people have been seeing the work. And so videos are wonderful. But stories, I think, help personalize it and humanize it, to say, like, even one of the homes I was in, Richard, his basement was flooded. His wife had lung cancer. And so he was worried about the mold, affecting her lungs. And so every home we go into has a storm and a story already. And then the storm, just exasperates or brings out things. And so a lot of times, like, he really just talked with us the whole day. A lot of us couldn't get, one of us was talking to him at all times. He just wanted that ministry of presence. And so I think people in their pain, they like to share stories. So that's why I encourage people who think, I can't muck out a house, or I can't fix a roof with a tarp. Well, you can talk to somebody. And sometimes that's all that these homeowners need. They are trying to process this tragedy, especially when everyone in their community has been affected. They may not have somebody to talk to because everyone else is trying to fix their home. So stories, I'm finding, are a really great way to heal and to learn and to encourage, to show you you're not alone, because I think Satan wants to isolate us and think you're the only one dealing with that. But when you share and carry one another's burdens, as Galatians 6 says, you then can point people to the hope of the gospel. So the podcast is a great way to hear stories, and we cover, every week, you never know where you're going to go. Sometimes we are responding to a crisis that's in the news. Sometimes it is one of our cleft lip trips, in South Sudan. And so it's an exciting way to find out. There's so many different, like I said, vehicles that this ministry is bringing to bring the hope of the gospel around the world. And so the podcast just gives you stories and behind the scenes of what God is doing.
If you want to find out how you can get involved and help, just go to SamaritansPurse.org. I want to thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I'm Carley Boyette, and I look forward to seeing you next week right here on your Christian television network.